UK based, so it's probably similar to what your experience is at the moment. I think there needs to be a little bit more structure in terms of governance, whether that's pooling together your intellectual talent to sit on a board and come up with really good strategic plans and goals. And as far as safeguarding is concerned, I think that's a big thing in the UK, safeguarding of kids, whether it's physical or mental well-being. It's got to be a priority in governance too now. You got to have whether that's a committee or something to protect kids. But just to get onto that point, Sean, like our pressure growing up was all about performance. I think kids have got added pressure now at school level in South Africa to win games, coupled with performance pressure when they leave school, to social media. Social media wasn't a thing for us, and you can definitely see how it plays a massive role in kids' well-being. But in terms of governance, the first thing for clubs is to create sustainability. However you set up your governance structures, that's entirely up to the club, how they see fit. But it's at the end of the day, if you have poor governance, you're not going to be able to have a long-term vision, a plan. Because you have to create sustainability, whatever that is for your club. It's all about sustainability and ensuring you hang on to your talent. So the better your governance structures, the better your stability is, the better you're going to retain players, and by retaining players, you grow your membership and your sustainability. So it's crucially important. You don't have to go far. We live in South Africa, and to see what poor governance actually does, it's remarkable. Like if you look at loss of talent for South Africa, you see so many South Africans playing abroad. When I say loss of talent, not only from a cricket system, I'm talking playing whether it's the UK, New Zealand, wherever that may be, USA now. It's also people that are turned away from the game because of poor governance, So you might lose people that might say, okay, rugby is looking all right. I think I'm going to turn to rugby. We're all world champions. So it's a lot more competitive to keep people within sport. And cricket's a long game. So, it's even tougher to keep young people interested. So if you have the governance structures in place and you're able to retain that talent and safeguard kids and give them the best opportunity to firstly enjoy themselves, have fun, and secondly see a pathway if they decide to make a career out of it. So it's crucially important. Like they say, everything rises and falls on leadership. So I think it's an important component of any, whether it's a national federation or a grassroots level club. I think that's where the whole storytelling element comes, and you've got to sell the vision to people. Sponsors want to return on investment, whether that's improving society or that results in more sales or a feel-good project for that they can take to their board. So it is important. I think you've got to be transparent about what you want to do. I think often we try and operate in silos in South Africa. If that's what you want to do and have the vision for the club, I think you've got to communicate it well, to all stakeholders. Don't hide what you're trying to do. Tell everybody that this is where we're going and hold yourself accountable. Find ways to hold yourself accountable to, that's what you said you're going to do. You gave timelines for this, that and the other, and you delivered on it. So that's how you build trust, and ultimately it all revolves around trust. And if you're accountable, you're transparent, accountable, you're going to build trust with people because it's a well communicated vision. So I think, gone are the days, and you got to set your clubs up where you don't want handouts and grants. You want to show sponsors that, listen here, this is how we're going to give you a return on with what you investing in us. So, and that only comes with transparency, really, which is one of the biggest things with governance, is having a transparent vision and selling it not only to sponsors, but to every stakeholder of the club or the community, wherever the club's situated. There's always ethical issues around governance. You think of cricket. Cricket's got a big match fixing scandals. It's been in the headlines for match fixing and spot fixing, whatever you want to call it. But yet, if you look at a lot of betting companies are coming into cricket now. So, at some point you also have to be realistic that, to survive, you're not aligning your values, I don't think, with the sponsor, but just making them aware that these are our values. We might not, they might not completely match yours, but those two values align with us, and we'll drive those two in conjunction with what we do. So I mean, it's not never easy. I think those are always ethical issues, and that's for people that sit on boards to decide whether they want to be aligned with the sponsor or not. At the end of the day, whether they, feel that, you know, do we need the money to invest in the game, to grow the game, and hopefully maybe down the track find other sponsors. But sometimes things are tight and you don't really have a choice. But that's a ethical issue for people that sit on around the table to discuss. I think they're all, you got to have a vision. I mean, that's, if you don't have a vision, you're not going to know where you want to go. It's like any, I mean, we always talk to cricketers about your own business, you're your own chairman. How do you do it? You've got to have a vision for yourself, as an organization. Your vision, you need how you're going to implement that vision, why you need it, what type of structures you need in place in terms of governance, whether it's codes, rules, what's the best practice, what type of structure you need to set up for your entity. So, and it all boils down to really to become sustainable. I think there are a lot of good clubs in South Africa that you don't have to go far from to pretty much take that model and just implement it wherever you are. I think clubs like, Western Province Cricket Club springs to mind, that actually a very well-run club in terms of all sports. I mean, if you look at Galvindale Cricket or Galvindale Sports Precinct, there's massive opportunity to do exactly the same within a previously disadvantaged community that Western Province Cricket does, where you can get a whole sports club, and pooling together resources, which means you probably going to be an attractive proposition to members, and all of a sudden you're going to create sustainability and hold on to your talent instead of that talent moving off to a club that's maybe a little bit better organized. And all of a sudden the results will speak in the coffers and in terms of talent you're producing and honing for not only for the province, but to go on to play for South Africa or internationally. That's probably something that's lacking. I think that collaborative advantage that they could probably have is people don't really communicate well in terms of that. But every province will have its own governance structures to run. They still businesses, whether they, they'll all have a commercial arm and a non-profit arm. So they will need their own governance structures, but operating under the Cricket South Africa umbrella. So it is nice because I think it's put a lot of pressure on provinces now to ensure that their governance is in a good state. Because it's all about sustainability. You have to create a pipeline. You can't rely on Cricket South Africa funding anymore. That's got to be almost surplus. So you got to find ways to ensure that you're sustainable. Create your own pipeline, your pathway, and make sure you got to make sure your club cricket is governed well. Because if that's not governed well, you're going to struggle to create a pathway and pipeline into your main team, which now each province is responsible for. Whether that's an academy, your club system, your school system, you're solely responsible for that now, which I think is great because it puts the power in your hands to change things. But it's also a little bit daunting because now the ownership, responsibility, and accountability is all on you, falls squarely on your shoulders. So I think it's great personally because I believe that you can't wait for a handout to change things. You got to be proactive, and in today's times, and COVID has shown us that you got to have your systems and structures in place to ensure that times are challenging. People are not investing in sports. So you got to think a little bit more creatively how you're gonna go about being sustainable, because that's ultimately what you want. You want to create something that lasts for a very long time for future generations to enjoy.